The locker room is buzzing. Players are checking their phones. Coaches are having closed-door meetings that nobody wants to talk about. And somewhere in Allen Park, Brad Holmes just made a move that nobody saw coming. I'm talking about the kind of chess move that changes everything we thought we knew about this season. The kind of move that makes you realize this organization isn't just trying to win games anymore. They're building something that could dominate the NFC for years to come. And when you hear what I'm about to tell you, you're going to understand why every single team in our division just got a whole lot more nervous. Welcome to Lions News Fan Report, where you get the most up-to-date news, breaking rumors, and insider analysis on our beloved Detroit Lions. I'm here to bring you something massive today, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around for every single second of this, because what's developing right now could completely reshape how we approach the rest of this season and beyond. So here's what we know. The Lions have been aggressive this year. We've seen the confidence, we've seen the swagger, and most importantly, we've seen the results on the field. But there's been something missing, something that could take this team from really good to absolutely unstoppable. And the answer might not be where everyone's been looking. While the entire league has been obsessing over edge rushers and secondary help, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have been studying something else entirely. They've been watching tape on two players who could transform our identity on offense in ways that would make opposing defensive coordinators lose sleep. I'm talking about Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller, two absolute maulers from Cleveland. Two guys who have been Pro Bowlers, two guys who know how to open holes that running backs can drive trucks through. And the whispers coming out of Allen Park suggest that the Lions might be positioning themselves to make something happen that would send shockwaves through the entire league. Now, before we go any further, let me paint you a picture of what this could mean. Our offensive line is already solid. We've got some really good pieces in place. But imagine adding two elite guards who have been doing this at the highest level for years. Joel Bitonio is a six-time Pro Bowler. Let that sink in for a second. 6 times. This guy has been one of the most consistent, most dominant guards in football for nearly a decade. He's the kind of player who doesn't just win his matchups. He completely erases defenders from the equation. And Wyatt Teller? This man is an absolute force of nature. We're talking about a guard who bench presses defensive tackles into retirement. The combination of power, technique, and football IQ these two bring is exactly what takes a good running game and turns it into a historically great one. Think about what we've been able to do with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs this season. Now imagine them running behind a line that includes Bitonio and Teller. We're not just talking about good runs anymore. We're talking about a ground game that could legitimately average over 200 yards per game. We're talking about third and short situations where the defense knows exactly what's coming and still can't stop it. We're talking about the kind of physical dominance that wears defenses down by the fourth quarter and makes them quit. But it goes beyond just the running game. Jared Goff has been playing some of the best football of his career this season, and a huge part of that is having time in the pocket. Adding two elite guards means even better protection schemes, cleaner pockets, and more time for our receivers to get open downfield. It means play-action passes that freeze linebackers because they're so terrified of Montgomery and Gibbs coming downhill. It means an offense that can literally do whatever it wants, whenever it wants, against any defense in the league. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Why would Cleveland let these guys go? And that's a fair question. But here's the reality of the situation. The Browns are in a tough spot. They're not competing this year. They've got salary cap issues to figure out. And both Bitonio and Teller are getting to that point in their careers where a rebuilding team might want to get value for them while they still can, rather than holding on to them through a rebuild. For a team like the Lions, who are in win-now mode, who have a legitimate shot at making a deep playoff run, these are exactly the kind of veteran additions that make sense. And let's talk about the financial side for a second, because this is where Brad Holmes has proven to be an absolute genius. The Lions have been smart with their cap management. We've got flexibility, we've got room to make moves, and when you're talking about bringing in players who can be the difference between a playoff appearance and a Super Bowl run, you find a way to make the money work. You just do. Because opportunities like this don't come around very often. The timing of this makes perfect sense, too. We're at a point in the season where we know what we have, we know what we need, and we know what's possible. We've shown we can compete with anybody. We've shown we can win in different ways. But if you're Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, you're looking at the rest of this season and you're asking yourself one question. What do we need to add to make sure we're not just competing, but dominating? And the answer very well might be 2 elite guards who can turn our offensive line into the best in football. Let me give you some context here. The last time a team made a major offensive line upgrade midseason and went on a run, we saw what happened. Dominant teams don't just have good skill players. They have the guys in the trenches who can impose their will. They have the big uglies who make everything else possible. And that's exactly what Bitonio and Teller would give us. Cleveland's situation makes this even more realistic. They're sitting at a disappointing record. They've already made some moves that suggest they're thinking about the future rather than this season. And when you've got 2 veteran guards who could fetch legitimate value in a trade, and you've got a team like Detroit calling with draft picks and possibly young players, you listen, you have that conversation. Because in the NFL, you can't hold on to players just for sentimental reasons when you're not competing. For the Lions, this would be a statement. It would be Brad Holmes looking at the rest of the NFC and saying, we're not satisfied with just being good. We want to be great. We want to be the team that other teams are scared to play. We want to be the team that physically dominates opponents for 60 minutes. And you do that by investing in the offensive line. Think about what this does for our entire offensive identity. Dan Campbell has always preached physicality. He's always talked about being the team that punches opponents in the mouth and doesn't stop until the game is over. Well, adding Bitonio and Teller would be the ultimate expression of that philosophy. It would be putting your money where your mouth is. It would be saying, we're going to run the ball down your throat and there's nothing you can do about it. And here's something else to consider. When you have an offensive line that dominant, it changes how defenses have to play you. They can't just pin their ears back and rush the passer because they know we can run it whenever we want. They can't stack the box too heavy because Goff will pick them apart with play action. It creates this impossible situation for defensive coordinators where there's no right answer. And that's when offenses become truly unstoppable. The ripple effects would be felt across our entire roster too. Our receivers would have more time to get open. Our tight ends would be even more effective in the play-action game. Our running backs would have career years. And Jared Goff would have the kind of protection that makes him look like an MVP candidate. This isn't just about adding 2 players. This is about elevating everyone around them. Now, I want to be clear about something. This is speculation at this point. We don't have confirmed reports that a deal is done. But the pieces are there. The logic is there. The opportunity is there. And if you know Brad Holmes, if you know how he operates, you know he's always looking for ways to get better. He's always looking for that edge. And Bitonio and Teller would give us a massive edge. The question becomes, what would it cost? Cleveland would want draft picks, no question. Probably a second rounder, maybe more, depending on the structure of the deal. But here's my take on that. If you're the Lions and you believe you have a legitimate shot at winning a Super Bowl this year, you make that trade every single time. You don't hesitate, because draft picks are about the future, but championships are about right now. And we are in a right now moment. Some fans might worry about giving up future assets, and I get that concern. But let me put it this way. How many times have we seen teams hold on to their picks, play it safe, and watch their window close? How many times have we seen teams that were 1 or 2 pieces away decide not to go for it and then regret it for years? The Lions are in a position right now where the roster is talented, the coaching is elite, and the culture is championship caliber. When you have all of those things aligned, you go for it. You push your chips to the middle of the table and you bet on yourself. And let's not forget what this would mean for our locker room. Bringing in two guys like Bitonio and Teller, two proven winners, two guys who have been to Pro Bowls and know what it takes to compete at the highest level, that sends a message to everyone in that building. It says the organization believes in this team. It says we're going all in. And that kind of belief is contagious. It makes players perform better. It makes them believe they can accomplish something special. The more I think about this, the more it makes sense from every angle. Cleveland gets value for veterans on a team that's not competing. Detroit gets the missing pieces that could turn a good offense into a historically great one. The players get a chance to compete for a championship. Everybody wins. And in the NFL, those kinds of deals are the ones that actually get done. So where does this leave us? We're watching. We're waiting. We're hoping that Brad Holmes is working the phones right now and making this happen. Because if it does, if we wake up tomorrow and see that Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller are Detroit Lions, everything changes. The entire landscape of the NFC changes. And suddenly, we're not just talking about making the playoffs. We're talking about being the favorite to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I want to hear from you. Do you think the Lions should go after Bitonio and Teller? Would you be willing to give up a second-round pick, maybe more, to bring in two elite guards who could be the difference between good and great? What does this move mean for our chances this season? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I'm reading every single one of them, and I want to know how Lions Nation feels about this. Potential game changer. If you want to stay updated on every breaking news story, every rumor, every insider report about our Detroit Lions, make sure you're subscribed to Lions News Fan Report. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. We're here every single day bringing you the content you need to stay ahead of the curve. Share this video with every Lions fan, because this is the kind of news that could define our season. Let's keep building this community together, and let's keep believing that something special is happening in Detroit. 1. Pride